Where's my freaking link? Share the screen. Hello. I hope you can hear me. I have a less than ideal camera setup going on right now, and I am trying to find the chat window. Oh, there it is. Okay, great. Can I break that out? Pop it out. Thank you. Okay. Got a glass here. I'm going to go fetch myself a drink, and then I'll be back. Probably I don't want to drink any of that. I probably should have done that before I started recording, started streaming. I see somebody's in here. Hello. Drinking a little red breast on the rock. I'm sure that's not something I'm supposed to do, but I'm doing it anyway. Sorry for the camera quality. I am using my built-in camera for the moment. Could possibly switch to my roaming camera, but I'm wondering if it's going to really work or not. If you can hear me, just shoot me a thumbs up. Should let that sit for a second. It's getting better now. And hello, patrons. Thank you guys for stopping by. I see that thumbs up, Master Master Yogi Bear 84. I read that as Mastery Yogi Bear, because I am stupid. Well, thank you for the heads up that you can hear me. Okay. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for patronizing the show. You guys make all of this. Yeah, I know. Shake my head. Is that so much hate or shake my head or I don't know what SMH stands for. You can fill me in. I'm catching up on that. And also, I can here. Just tell me right now if you guys prefer this camera, oops, or this camera, the shooting up my nose camera. I don't know if it sounds good or if it looks good or what. Just shake my head. Okay, I'll try this one for a minute. I probably need to be watching this section as well, just in case comments show up there. Which other one, the overhead or the under one? The idea is that this is actually like I can take this places. This is an NDI stream from my phone, so if we wanted to take a walk somewhere, we could do that. Oh, you know why? I do know why. Sorry. The echo should be gone now as the stream catches up. Both mics are recording at the same time. Sorry about that. But my bad. Up the nose. Okay. Back to the other one in case I take a walk or something. Maybe I'll give you guys a brief tour or something. Also, oh boy. Jeez. So I have to switch the. Okay. So I have to switch the microphone settings do not carry over from one scene to the next, which is kind of annoying. I'm using OBS. If you guys aren't familiar, it's an open broadcasting system. Open broadcasting something. Basically lets me play with a bunch of different cameras and stuff, and if I was doing video gaming and stuff, stream it from a multiple camera kind of thing. Include like video chat and stuff. I got into this when I was playing around with Fallout and stuff. Well, actually, that's funny, Yogi Bear. Yeah, I actually have thought about the fact that it would be possible to do a pretty cool live show of how to drink using this and a couple of, and maybe like a camera, and then what I considered was actually having kind of like pre-recorded slow motion shots that I could trigger, because I've done that kind of like video playback and live switching. I've done that professionally a couple times. So there's a way to do that. It's something I was interested in. I apologize for my hair. I'm long overdue for a haircut, but I live down here in this cage and the pit, as I call it, where I edit, and nobody ever has to look at me anymore except for like 5 minutes before I go on camera. So haircuts are now like once every 2 months. And you're lucky I trimmed my beard this morning. I was looking very Jablinski gaming up until a little while ago. What's Jablin? Jablers? It's amazing. Amazing success story of a very famous person deciding to become famous in a whole new way. So some updates on the show. Next weekend, no, not next week, the weekend of March 30th, that's like 2 weeks from now, we're shooting a whole bunch of new episodes again. And I'm very excited about it. I got a great big, let me actually, it's funny, I can actually show you that. This will be like a sneak peek and people can come back through my footage. Here is, I had to develop a new content calendar to plan the season. And there are some twists and surprises in it. So bear with me just for a moment here. We're going to switch back to my roaming camera so I can do this. I really wish that those microphone settings would carry over. Okay, so roaming camera. Whoa, check this shit out. Okay. It's a little bit of lag and latency there, but I can actually... Oh, Jesus. I've made a terrible mistake. I'm sorry. That was not what you were supposed to see. That was a wormhole. This is what I want to show you. Okay, so that is the content calendar as I am working on it. And I probably, if I was really handy at this, I could probably shot of this into the stream, but instead I'm just going to live it and scroll through it. So you guys can get a look at what I am planning. I can't promise all of this is going to happen. This is basically everything that I have to track on where we're going with this, and I'm trying to shoot out to something like here. You probably see some stuff you guys have been asking me for. Some of this, for instance, you guys probably already know that this one, which everybody always asks me for, is already shot. I shot that in this release date to May 24th because it turns out that there's a Towel Day holiday that I didn't know existed. Anyway, let's go away from this for a moment now. All right, and now we're back to this audio. You know what I should do? I should actually just, I could do that. I could just make it so this has, this is really, I'm playing with this stuff now. Now I'm just adding the camera here as a source that I'm already using my phone, and then we'll just make that the audio source. But sorry, guys. I'm winging this, and I'm terrible at it. I apologize. Okay, we're getting better. Is anybody still watching, or have I lost all of you at this point? Oh, 4 of you. Great. Perfect. Yes. So that's the schedule. That was a quick glimpse at what I'm planning for the schedule here. One of the things that if you saw in there that if you were very sharp-eyed, is that I've got Game of Thrones premiere date scheduled as a big red line, and also the Stranger Things premiere date as a big red line. I think both of those are things we're going to do a lot, or at least something for. Well, Game of Thrones we're doing a lot for. So, all right, I'll just tell you guys. I am going to do, we're going to go to 2 episodes a week in the next few weeks, you know, assuming that disaster doesn't strike, but that's the plan. We're going to start that with a special series, a Game of Thrones series that we'll do. I'm going to do a lot of Game of Thrones drinks that I'm still working on some recipes for, but I got some cool stuff coming. That will come out on Mondays or Tuesdays. I would love to do Mondays, but I think Tuesdays are more practical for me for a lot of reasons. It gives me 1 weekday to finish up and edit before it has to go live. And then, so for 6 weeks, I think, we'll be doing Game of Thrones on Tuesdays. The first one will go out on a Friday to kind of announce the launch of that series. And then at the conclusion of that 6-week Game of Thrones run, I'm going to kind of switch up the format of the show slightly so that the kind of pop culture, movie referencing, TV referencing drinks are going to continue to roll out in that same Game of Thrones time slot, Tuesdays, I think, unless it's Mondays, but probably Tuesdays. And then the Friday episode was actually going to become kind of classic drinks, just what I used to do. Just good cocktails made, well, a visual bar guide, basically, as opposed to trying to do something a little different. And then we'll do 2 episodes a week, and hopefully that'll make everybody happy. Of course, trying to make everybody happy is a fool's errand, so who knows. But at the very least, 2 episodes a week is better for a lot of reasons than 1. So we're going to definitely give that a strong shot. So that is the plan. I don't know if is anybody still here? Anybody still watching? Is 5 of you? Maybe 5 of you. So that's the plan there, and I've got some fun cocktails planned for the Game of Thrones stuff. I've got some more drinks I'm developing. I've got something I'm working on called Clegane Bowl, which is sort of a tequila-based punch. I'll just spin my wheels here for a minute about Game of Thrones. It's an interesting thing because if you look at Westeros, I don't know how nerdy you guys are, but if you look at the map, Westeros, where it takes place, it's huge. It's like the size, Fine Arbor Gold. Yeah, that's something I'm toying with. It's like the size of both North and South America combined, right? Even though it kind of, but culturally it sort of maps to like England and Spain in a way, and maybe sort of France in some places, but it's like a huge, huge space. And so, more gin, yeah, some gin coming, definitely. There's a question about, well, I mean, there's no distilled spirits really. There's very limited, extremely limited distilled spirits in the setting, and that's right, because in the Middle Ages there would have been almost none, like a few ounces a month or something that an alchemist could generate in the service of a king. It wasn't until much later that we started actually getting whiskeys and that. So it's tricky because I don't want to there's only so much I can do with wine, beer, and ale and stuff like that on the show, and it's kind of a bad fit for how to drink. So we have to figure out a way to kind of do cocktails, but keyed to how to drink, keyed to Game of Thrones. And so I look for regional inspiration. I look for cultural influences and things like that. And so for me, I think that the West Coast, Lannisport, the Rock, with its gold, with all the gold they have there and everything like that, it feels like California to me, especially if you consider the fact that, well, Grim is an American, and Grim, is that acceptable? G-R-R-M is American. And the continent of Westeros is like huge, the size of North and South America combined. So it sounds, I don't know, I don't feel wrong on that. So like, for example, there's someone at the door. That's awkward. It's bad timing too. So for example, I think that the idea is to, or that's my idea anyway, is to look at like, well, California, right? So the Cleganes are Bannisters, the Lannisters, they're Westermen. Look at tequila. So we're doing a tequila kind of thing there. I'm looking at, actually probably today or tomorrow, I'm going to be trying to make some poppy seed orgeat, so I can make a milk with poppy cocktail. It was a little dicey. Apparently there was a thing where people were buying unwashed poppy seeds in bulk and washing them to get a little risky. And so happily now they don't sell unwashed poppy seeds anymore, it seems. So we'll be using nice unwashed poppy seeds with no morphine, which of course is what milk of the poppy actually would be. What else did I want to talk about? I talk about that. I talk about the fact that a Lannister is at the door to pay his debt. It's actually my dad coming by for a visit, which is unusual. So Definitely not a Lannister. Going to 2 episodes a week. More pop, which means the show's going to split into kind of like the pop culture show on Tuesdays and the classic drinks or modern classics visual bartending guide show on Fridays. So we'll just do both. Just do both all the time. It'll be great. That's a big update. Shooting new episodes on the weekend of the 30th, and we're gonna shoot for longer than we ever have before. Usually, I've only ever done like set up the camera on a Friday and then shoot a little bit of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're trying to go, I think, Friday to like Wednesday this time. Really try to, since I'm doubling the amount of episodes, we're trying to shoot a lot more content. It's exciting. We're also going to change, so this is really technical stuff. I've always done where I do the master shot, me talking and making the drink live as one thing, and then immediately we do the close-ups of that. To try and speed up production and increase the number of episodes per day that I can shoot, we are going to switch to doing like basically 2 days or a day and a half of all master shots, and then go back and do all the close-ups after that. Which is going to give me a little bit less sober up time between shooting episodes. So that might be dangerous, but we'll see. Looking at getting some guests on the show. That's an interesting idea. And I have some ideas for other stuff, but right now, like, I had a bunch of ideas that I thought I was going to pounce on, and those are going to take a slight back burner because I want to really perfect the cocktail part of the show. First. Oh, that was the other thing I want to tell you about. I don't know if you guys know who Mover and Shaker Company is, but you should check them out. They sell really cool liquor, cocktail, bar-themed merch, mostly pins. Really awesome designs. Just came together, real last minute thing. I'm going to be, they're going to kind of partner up with us a little bit, and they're going to start helping me make some how to drink pins for starters, and we'll see what goes from there. So hopefully in the next few weeks I'll have the first batch of those. And we're going to start real simple. It's just going to kind of be like a logo pin, and I'm going to do 2 versions. One that I'll sell publicly, and then the other one is going to be a Patreon exclusive, like a reward level thing. And I'll start by, we're going to backfill for everybody who's been a patron for whatever the level is that it ends up making sense to be. And maybe I shouldn't even talk about this, but it'll certainly be at $10 a month. And might be able to do it at $5. But we'll see. Everybody who's been a patron at that level is going to get a pin, and then it'll become a kind of a reward for new patrons at that level going forward. And then I can't commit to this, but it looks like it should be possible. I want to try and do new pins, including new patron exclusives on like a quarterly basis. They'll all be like limited. We won't be able to, I don't know that we're going to, they come in runs. So, we're starting real small, just kind of test this thing out. But you should check out their designs because they do really fun stuff. Really clever guy. I love some of his stuff. Like the Daiquiri Queen, which is like a new release they just did. And also just some like really cool looking things I wouldn't mind having on my vest. So my vest, I'm not like a vest wearer. I am dressed up like a grandpa today though, so it's my grandpa sweater. So merch coming. 2 episodes a week coming. New shoot on the 30th coming. If anybody has seen my office previously, the office I work in, you can see that I finally cleaned it up a bit back in here, because the last time I did one of these, there was like still boxes from moving in and stuff all over the place. And actually, I don't know if anybody's noticed this, but we haven't missed a week in a while. And we've actually done, I think now we're getting into our 3rd shoot while continuously releasing episodes. It used to be I would shoot a bunch of episodes and then have to take a break for like a couple of months sometimes while I pooled my resources and put the show back together, and then shot another bunch of episodes. Yes, I'll come to that, Jason. Thank you. And um, what was I trying to say here? Shot another bunch of episodes, and then so the show would come and go and come and go. And so one of my main goals has been to stop taking breaks, to basically have the show not really have seasons anymore, but just be continuously releasing. And I think we've done that. And so now the next step is to start continuously releasing twice a week instead of once a week. So that's fantastic. Dinah, my favorite thing, drinks I've never had. I don't have an update on it, but I do fully intend to do more of it. I have not like updated my Patron reward levels to make it like a promise or anything like that, because it's something right now that I'm going to do when I have time. It's awesome. It's not, to be frank, it's not super hard for me to make it. But I just haven't had the time, and actually my set's kind of a mess right now because I'm in the middle of a bunch of stuff. I will probably... Well, okay, so part of it is that I shot that on a rented camera. I had to rent a decent DSLR for, because we had an Audible sponsorship thing, and I had to like basically rent a camera so I could shoot the beginning of the Audible sponsorship and cut it into an existing episode. And I had it, and so while I had it, I did the Dyna stuff, and I think I did a couple of other things with it, kind of tests and stuff like that. Unfortunately, the DSLR that I actually own is a Nikon D7100, which I can, with a lot of post-production, squeeze decent Instagram shots out of, but it's pretty terrible for video. And like, so I will try it on that, or on an iPhone, honestly, but I actually had to replace my iPhone because I was shooting on it so much, I burned it out and melted it back when I was doing a lot of Chaser episodes when I was living in New York City. Yeah, I ended up melting my iPhone shooting that, which sucked. And so I need to rent another camera. What I really need to do is just buy a decent DSLR that I can shoot video content on. But really, there has not been enough money to do that, unfortunately. But Dyna is coming back, and it's going to come back more. Unfortunately, I only had the 5 episodes kind of that I could shoot in an afternoon, and that was all the time I had. After doing it once, I know that I could shoot a lot more pretty quickly. I just don't have, I haven't had a day to do it, or whatever. I would love to say that I can get back in front of the camera and do more of that before March 30th, but right now I'm so engrossed in pre-production and cocktail design that I probably won't be able to make that happen until after we shoot the next season. If I can pull it off beforehand, awesome, but probably not. Okay, back to the chats, because question time is perfect here. Favorite single malt and why? Why? Man, I don't know if I drink enough single malt to have a really well-formed opinion on this. I do know that I like the Glenfiddich quite a bit. That's a single malt, right? I like Glenfiddich 15 a fair bit. It tastes kind of like what I want it to taste like. It's got a little bit more character than like a Macallan of the same price range, to my opinion, but I don't know. And I think when we say single malt, we mean Scotch. I'm drinking Redbreast right now because that's kind of the mood I was in, and it's the bottle I had. I don't have infinite liquor stocks. As far as peatier stuff goes, I've had like what I would call the big 3 of peated scotches. What is that? It's Lagavulin and Ardbeg and Lafroig. Of those 3, I think I like Lafroig the best. I have a Lagavulin 16, which is is actually not mellowed to me. Yeah, Lafroig, thank you. I don't know, man. I love like the experience. The flavor profile of a peated Scotch is incredible to me. Just like how long it evolves and like how many notes is in it and how much goes on in it. But on a pure like enjoyment level, it's much more cerebral for me. It's much more like going to a museum and looking at art and thinking about it and being like, oh, that's really cool. And it's not like sitting down and watching a TV show or a movie that I just happen to really love. And so I have to be like in a kind of mood for that. It does, and also I get migraines, and for some reason I find that some of the PD stuff can be like 30% of the time can be like an almost instant migraine trigger for me. I don't know what that is, but it's just like it can be like the minute it hits my lips. So I think that if I had to drink one scotch for forever, it would probably be Glenfiddich because it just agrees with me and tastes pretty great. But it's also, I mean, it's not like complex or anything like that. It's pretty one note. Redbreast, same thing. Just does one thing. Somebody in the comments said it does one thing really well, as opposed to doing a lot of different things. Episode on non-alcoholic drinks or mocktails. Okay, so and the Sony A7S, A7 III. Yeah, the A7 Mark III is super interesting. What I have typically leaned on when I have to rent like a portable camera is an A7S, just because I really like having the low light capability that comes with that. There's an idea that I might want to be able to do travel stuff and walk directly into a bar without a light kit and be able to get a usable image out of it. That is something that an A7S is actually really interesting for. Okay, so I'll tell patrons this. How many of you are watching? How many people are revealing my secrets? There's 7 of you. Ooh, very, very popular feed here. It's like a year ago. Me and Cocktail Chemistry did, Nick from Cocktail Chemistry, we shot a thing where we walked around and went to a bunch of really cool bars in New York City. And we shot it, and I dropped the ball, and I couldn't figure out how to edit the footage and also keep up with everything else I had going on work-wise, like to make a living, and also work as far as how to drink goes. And it just kept getting sucked onto the back burner. Finally now I've got some rough cuts of that put together, and I'll be able to release some of that. It's pretty, I don't know, it's weird. It's like, I don't know how great the actual content was. I don't know how good at that format we were together at all. But we're definitely going to release something with that. And so that kind of an idea, though, what that is, a version of that is an indicator to me that I would like that low light capability is like really important, and like that run and gun ability, very important to me. Okay. Are you going to do an episode on alcohol? Yeah, so I want to do more about non-alcoholic stuff. There's a question in my mind about that. I'm like very sensitive about kids watching my show, honestly. Oh, look at that. When I put like a white screen in front of me, there's a lot more light on my face, isn't that? Well, let's just do that then. That's great. So when I think about like how YouTube serves my content to people, I guess I'm somewhat worried that if I start really focusing on non-alcoholic stuff, mocktail stuff, in the way that I want to, that a lot of kids are going to, and there's a lot of kids on YouTube. A lot of kids are going to see my, like I know I could do a Fortnite drink tomorrow and have it probably net 1 million views, but I don't want I don't feel right about a bunch of 12-year-olds watching a show about cocktails. Maybe some people are 12, in which case, don't tell me. Yeah, so I'm a little bit wary of doing that on the How to Drink channel. And also, like, I think that it could be from Jesus, man, I really need a haircut. I should have put a hat on or something. This is, poof. From like an ad revenue perspective too, I worry about what happens if the audience is a little less curated. Like it could affect the advertiser friendliness of the channel, which is an awful thing to have to worry about, but I kind of have to because that money does make the show possible to produce. So I think that maybe, yes, I could do, I actually saw my wife picked up from the library book, like about geek cocktails, kind of for inspiration. And they do a great thing where they do like a mocktail version of every recipe in the book as they go through. I might start doing something like that where I like just give suggestions about how to like take the alcohol out, but also like I tend to favor formulations that are much more like classic cocktails, very spirit forward, and then the alcohol is like a primary flavor component. You know, it's not like you know, you can do a virgin pina colada pretty easy because it's not like a drink that really tastes like rum typically. So it's hard to actually do non-alcoholic versions and satisfy that. What I want to do is like a whole other channel eventually, like where I don't know what I'm going to call it, but I call it in my head the Soda Jerk, where I just do like old-timey soda fountain drinks, because there's so many of those, and that's what they are. They're basically non-alcoholic cocktails. I mean, they're also basically gussied up sugar water, but that's okay. I mean, the rest of this is all just gussied up fire water, so. It's very cool and mellow and vanilla-y and caramelly. That's fun. Excellent. Have you heard of the channel Modern Rogue? Yeah, I am familiar with Modern Rogue. We should do something together. And more crossovers is something I want to do. There's a couple of problems there is that, I mean, like, for instance, the Whiskey Tribe and I have been talking about doing a thing. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to do it, but we have to do, like, a Skype thing because those guys are in Austin and I'm in, you know, the New York City area. So, I mean, there's a few thousand miles between us. And it's not like I shoot every day either. And I have to kind of like schedule these things way in advance and get people to put it on their calendar and stuff. And it's not actually how a lot of YouTubers tend to work. I'm trying to do more with Babish as well, which would be great. Love to do something with the Modern Rogues. I don't know how much more cocktail stuff they want to do because I've kind of done a lot of that already and stuff with the Whiskey Tribe and stuff. I'd love to do stuff with Whiskey Tribe. I want to do more tasting videos, and I would love to do stuff where they kind of set me straight on what I'm getting wrong, because I have no formal training on that at all. Yeah, it's funny, Gramier, how like YouTube kind of buckets people into stuff together. So I guess me and Modern Rogue occupy a lot of the same sort of demographic space. This Friday. What is this Friday's release? That's a good question that I just invented that no one asked me. This Friday, oh yeah, this Friday is like a real basic one. We're doing Cuba Libre on Friday. So, but there's some cool secret info in this. Some cool secret info in the Cuba Libre episode. So, be a good one. Talk about how it's a great bar, Blacktail, in New York City, opened by the guys who own the Dead Rabbit, which is pretty famous, I think. You may have heard of that even if you're not from the area, but they are all about like Cuban cocktails, and their whole thing is like themed to Cuba during Prohibition and how it was like a refuge for Americans who could afford to get down for the weekend. So you can't really serve Cuban rum in America. So they came up with a 4-part blend of other rums that they think does a pretty good job of approximating Cuban rum. And so we'll talk about that. And we're going to make our own cola syrup. Well, I'm not going to make it on camera because I don't know if there's much value in me showing you how to mix ingredients and heat them up in a pot, to be honest. I think we've done that a couple times, and now I can just give away recipes and be like, it's the same idea. You put the stuff in the pot and you heat it up. How to cook, maybe a snack episode. Yeah, well, maybe. I feel like shooting a cooking show at this point is like such a different level of infrastructure than I've developed, and it's different. Like everything about it would require a rethink. I would need to go up to my kitchen. I would need to make my kitchen visually like appealing. I would need to rethink where my, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, so many other people are doing that so much better than me. So what I did have this idea, and I still have this idea, and I want to do it. It would be shot a little more cheaply. It'd be kind of self-shot, but I don't know what I'm calling it, but it's like a movie review show where me and a friend or guest sit down and watch, a movie, probably an older movie, and sort of review / react to it in semi-real time. Or maybe not real time, but a normal YouTube video. And in those, there might be space to do like snack foods and also kind of link back to some of my other drink content. That was an idea that I thought I was about to like pounce on, and then I realized that what I really need to do is to fully commit to doing both classic cocktails and sort of new original pop culture drinks. Yeah, I kind of had a mystery how to drink theater, kind of that idea. Yeah, exactly. But less riff tracky and more. With more of an eye towards somewhere between that and like every frame of painting, honestly. I think is what I'm thinking about. Like, yeah, a little more serious film criticism, but also with some funny stuff in it as well. I don't know how many of you guys follow me on Instagram, But if you do, and you're active on my stories, you saw that I needed to build some shelves for my kitchen because as much booze as there is down here, there's also no fridge really, no sink, so I can't actually, like when I'm at home, make cocktails, come down here to the bar to make cocktails. It's kind of just for show. So a lot of bottles wind up in my kitchen, especially when it's like pre-pro time and I'm heavily developing new drinks. And I was frustrated. I didn't have any place to put them, so I made some shelves. They came out pretty good. Put them on my Instagram. A lot of people responded a lot to that, and I don't know. I'm thinking about selling them. I think about opening up the How to Drink Etsy store and maybe selling some bar shelves to convert any wall of your home into a home bar. Since people kind of like these brass-railed shelves that I figured out how to make. I don't know what the price point is for those. I don't know if I can sell them for enough money to make them really worth my time. If you happen to have been following my Instagram stories and appreciated the shelvery that I produced, let me know what you would pay for that for one of those shelves. They are oak stained with what's that stuff called? English chestnut with a brass rail. Secured very strongly by pocket screws, and they fit about 6 bottles. They're 22 inches long. So that's something that I'm contemplating too, is doing the Etsy store for booze shelves. Maybe that's like a whole thing. Maybe, because a lot of people talk to me about, what are you gonna? Merch is one thing, like just like fun branded stuff because you're a fan of the show or something and you want to have it, like pins. But like an actual product, I don't have the pull, resources, or clout, or know-how to come up with bar tools that I feel like the world needs that don't already exist and aren't going to be made better by somebody else. And like the idea of selling like a cocktail shaker that just happens to have How to Drink etched on the side of it kind of puts me off, and I feel like it disrespects you guys. But if I could sell like bar furniture that is of a design that I don't know that it necessarily exists and maybe helps people support their hobby in a real tangible way that someone else isn't. I'm pretty into that. That'd be cool. So I don't know. Actual like bar furniture, less than bar tools. That might be where I go with like a How to Drink product line. That and syrups. I think that there's probably room in the marketplace for syrups that are not currently being sold. Then you have to go to like Cornell Food Labs and all that stuff. Yeah, drink coasters. If I'm doing shelves, I'll probably also do coasters because that's like in between. It straddles the line between like swag and swag merch. I don't know what term you prefer. Thank you about the grenadine, guys. Yeah. And like functional stuff, and it would be pretty easy for me to make a bunch of coasters while I'm making shelves and just kind of have like an Etsy store stocked with those. Glassware. I don't know anything about making glasses, so it would. Ultimately, to be perfectly frank, in the world of selling stuff, a glassware line is going to be very little more than me licensing my brand to like Rydell or somebody to produce glassware on my behalf. With my name on it, and like the honest truth is that stuff already exists. Hypothetically, if I had like 1 billion followers, could I make buckets of money on it? Yes. And would I? Maybe. At this point, it's like such a reach for me to put that together. No one's knocking down the door to say, to do a licensed product line with me. I'll look into Libby, but like I don't know that I have anything to add to the marketplace. So I kind of feel like a huckster if I'm selling you guys stuff that you could already buy from somebody else, but without paying the premium to support my lifestyle. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Thankfully, this is only a live stream, so if I ever want to, I can just walk back these words and I can really sell out hardcore, and no one will be any of the wiser. You guys will know, but no one will believe you because I'll delete the feed. I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get into the little drink umbrella business. That's where it's at. Little drink umbrellas. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, does the world? I don't think that there's a glass out there that doesn't exist that the world needs. If that makes any sense. Here's a thought. I always think that my wife calls it my caveman dream. I always wish my coffee mugs and such had a handle that went sideways like this. And I know that some people make them, but I've never seen them made like in mass. This like little loopy thing that kind of hurts my fingers. I just want like a motorcycle handle. My drink is almost empty, and we're getting up to about 45 minutes. So open it up to a few more questions, but otherwise, I think I gotta go. I'm sorry, this was a little short. Other thing I'm gonna say is, I know I'm not the best about. I'm like, actually, let's just fact, I'm terrible about staying on top of doing my live streams, and I do my best to get you guys, extra content and stuff like that on how to drink. And not every episode has stuff that I can say, like, here's the behind the scenes, here's the extras or something like that, and some episodes, some weeks I'm just like, it takes a long time to export stuff sometimes, so I'm doing my best to stay on top of that. It's hard. Kickstarter for a camera purchase. Maybe. It's an interesting idea. I hadn't thought about it. I don't know. I gotta talk to some people about that. Well, actually, it is kind of my full-time job in that, like, so I'm talking to Master Yogi Bear. I'm making a real goal of trying to make this, like, I've replaced my full-time. I didn't have a full-time job. I was a freelance editor. I would get called, hey, we need you for 3 days, we need you for a week, we need you for 6 months to edit commercials and mostly like internet commercials, social media stuff, brand videos. You'd be surprised how much video needs to get edited in this world. So that was what I was doing, and pretty good. Long hours, crazy long hours. And the downside is that there's only 2 places in the world I can do it, basically New York or LA. Very expensive places to live. And it just feels like you're just, as is like just a real moment here, I feel like I am beating my brains out, like 12-hour, 15-hour days, just to barely make ends meet in those marketplaces. And then so my wife is a librarian. We had to move for her work. Basically, she had to move across state lines into the state that she worked in, New Jersey. And that sort of accelerated my plan of, all right, let's try to make How to Drink my full-time job, because commuting to the city is possible, but really extremely undesirable, because the industry standard day is 10 to 12 hours, and when you start adding a commute on top of that, and like as a person who really likes spending time with my kid, it just basically means like I'm never going to see my kid at all. It was like a trade-off that I wasn't really psyched about making. So we're trying to make this the thing for this year, and also really, it is a full-time job. Even if it's not a full-time job, it's a full-time job. Delivering an episode of How to Drink every week takes a lot of time. Like a lot of time, and if it can't pay the bills to a certain extent, I'm not really sure how much I can commit to it, to be honest. It's like my whole life. Even if I'm not trying to make it my whole life, it becomes my whole life. So that's what it is. There's a hope. Like, I think that doubling our, thank you, yeah. I think that doubling the release schedule is gonna, well, it's what I gotta try. It's gonna be a big paradigm shift, because I think that we should actually, and I'm talking about passive revenue, like YouTube ad revenue and stuff like that. We should, I think, just based on like how the algorithm works, see a better than 100% increase in revenue, which is without actually having to increase the costs tremendously, because it'll be a slightly different kind of content. Like if we think about, like, I don't know if you guys are all fans, a lot of the older stuff, like the classic episodes, but like episodes where I'm just gonna make a Mai Tai this week, and I don't really need to explain too much about that, and there's not like a pop culture tie-in. Those things are like 3 to 5 minutes long. They're faster to shoot, they're faster to edit, so they require a much less time sink. They also are never going to do what like a Butterbeer video can do. So, and the goal, realistically, is to be generating 10 million views a month to make enough money. And that's hard to do with just classics. So I think splitting the episode release schedule and not splitting it, but basically doing twice as much content for a few reasons should net better than double our revenue numbers. Well, there's that, Master Yogi Bear, but there's also the truth that, like, I think that a lot of people. So I didn't know how to make a YouTube show. I didn't know what YouTube really looked like, and honestly, I didn't really consume a lot of YouTube before I started doing it. I was like, I want to do this. When I started this show, if you guys have been, maybe I've mentioned this to you specifically before, but I was trying to direct food commercials, and I thought, well, I like cocktails, and I'll shoot like a kind of cocktail show that's also a director's reel for doing food commercials. And I didn't actually, I had it, and I didn't know how to do anything as far as getting food commercial work out of it. So it just sort of became a YouTube show. I mean, I would always plan on putting it on YouTube because I didn't know much better than what to do with it. And I said, well, if it does well, we'll do more. And it did pretty good. People liked it. You know? I think I said if I get 1,000 subscribers, I'll do more than 7 episodes. And so I got 1,000 subscribers like in a week. Or 2 weeks or something like that. And then slow and steady. But I think what happens is that a lot of people start shooting like this, basically, and then they find an audience, and then the show is making a lot of money, to be honest. But it's like, well, why would I increase my costs? You know, like, this is working fine. I didn't know how to make a show like this, or that shows like this could work. I don't know that a show like this would work, or that a show shot like this would work for me. I think that so much of what I do is about the visual appeal. And so it's all about trying to figure out how to support that and keep that show going, and also, and support me, keep me going, since that show requires so much time. But if I had the option to do a show that cost me no money and had no overhead, I would do that show in a heartbeat. But I don't know how to make that show work. Sponsorships are, and that's right. Yeah, sponsorships are huge. Actually, I just today turned down a sponsorship from a mobile game, Guns and Glory. But and the only reason I even entertained it was because they're like, well, we just want you to mention the game twice in the first minute of the video. And I was like, well, I can say that the game exists, but I don't want to endorse it because it sounded like, I don't know if you are up on this, but like Guns and Glory is like a real PR nightmare. They really screwed the pooch on their launch. They stole footage from other games to make their game look like a different thing. And also I think that they're kind of a scam. So I was like, I will say the name of the game, but if you have talking points where you want me to endorse it, I said I can't do that. And they sounded like they just wanted me to say the name of the game 2 times until just today they sent a bunch of talking points over. And I was like, okay, well, I can't do this. I'm sorry, guys. If you just want to, I'll provide a link and say, hey, here's a thing that exists. But I can't tell people that I've played it and that I love it and that it's, I think that some of the talking points were like, oh, it's a more mature audience playing this game, and that there's a lot of, I wanted me to like say that a lot of soldiers were playing it or something. A lot of people in the army, which maybe it's true. I have no idea, but it doesn't matter because I couldn't do it. So I think everybody would have been really pissed off, honestly. So I think my kid's going to wake up from her nap pretty soon. I do have to wrap it up. I'll give you guys a couple minutes here to get some rapid-fire lightning round questions tossed at me. You would hate that. Yeah, see, exactly. Yeah. So it was $5,000, guys. I had to say no because everybody would have hated it. My cup runneth dry. Hey, do another episode on that clear ice. Yes! A follow-up on my clear ice. This is not, I don't make this. I almost should do like a follow-up on clear ice and then delete that one because some people pointed out it was not actually the most informative episode. What I wanted to do, honestly, is like I felt like Camper English had done all the research on how to make clear ice at home. And I just wanted to kick people to his blog and say, hey, if you want to know the science behind this, here's his blog. And here's how I took what he figured out and built my own device following his specifications. That's all I really wanted to do with that. A lot of people pointed out that I didn't explain how to make clear ice at all. So there's definitely a better version of a clear ice episode for me. But the truth is that the amount of ice that I need in like a weekend of shooting how to drink is not something I could ever make in my home freezer. So I buy it from a company called Hundredweight, which is a supplier of clear ice for fancy cocktail bars in the New York City area. Pretty expensive way to stock a home bar on a regular basis, but if you're making money at it and doing a TV show about it, YouTube show about it, it's like a necessary expense because it looks so good on camera. And so that's what this is. And the upshot is that I generally have a little bit left over just used for my own purposes. Yeah, there's no way I could produce. I mean, unless I bought like a Kleinbell machine and was making 300-pound blocks of ice at a time, but those things are like $10,000. Yep. Yeah, so that's different, right? So, I mean, but basically the idea is that you need a cooler, and that's actually what he does. He just takes literally an igloo cooler and puts it in a freezer. And then I think he got these like clear. Look up Camper English, and he had a blog, or has a blog called Alcademics. He's sort of the ice master of the cocktail blogging world, and a cool guy. Started this thing, Cocktail Safe, which is a directory of ingredients that commonly show up in cocktails and whether or not they're safe. So he was like a real advocate for people not using activated charcoal in cocktails anymore. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I actually had a really good experience with the rabbit one. I'm going to take that off my list then. If you're having an issue with it. Damn. I'm sorry about that. I liked that a lot, actually. I do use that somewhat frequently at home, but I also haven't run out of ice since my last shoot, and now I'm shooting again, so I'm not going to run out of ice again. So maybe I'm not, I feel like shit now. But, yeah, so the idea is to directionally freeze it. Right. Oh, damn. And even though it's got that chamber at the bottom where it's supposed to go to, because that's basically the idea. The basic idea of making clear ice at home is to insulate the sides and bottom so it has to freeze from the top to bottom, so all the cloudiness gets pushed to the bottom as the ice freezes. And if you're really good at it, stop it before it freezes all the way and just pour that water off, and then you've got a clear ice flow kind of on top that you can cut. It's a pretty wasteful process. Like, you're going to have to throw away a ton of ice anyway, but it makes it possible to get clear cubes that you either cut off the cloud or you pour it off, one of the two, by virtue of doing that. There's really no other way to do it at home, because the way a Kleinbell works, which makes the ice that this guy is from and that like ice sculptors use, chefs and stuff like that, they freeze, they're open at the top, and then they freeze from the bottom up, so that that cloudiness, it's actually mostly it's just air, it's stuff that's like dissolved in the water. And that just escapes as it freezes in that direction. So there's usually like nothing on top. A lot of people talk about like, oh, if you boil the water or double boil the water or whatever, you get all those gases out. Well, that is nonsense. I'm sorry to say, because there's 14 pounds per square inch of air sitting on top of that water. So the minute it stops boiling, it starts absorbing atmosphere again. There's always going to be something. I mean, you might get somewhat clearer water by boiling and filtering and stuff like that, but you're not actually going to get clear ice at all through boiling or filtering or anything like that. I suppose conceivably, if you could freeze water in a vacuum, I don't know. There'd be no way to do that, because it would be like if you could freeze it while it's boiling, maybe. I don't think that would work though. Yeah, I can't imagine how you would possibly. I don't think there's any way to do it. It's the directional freezing is the trick. And then Kleinbell goes further. I think they have like an oscillator, basically like a vibrator or something, that is attached to the machine to buzz it a little bit to help all those little air bubbles like escape. So it's a pretty complicated thing. They did just invent a smaller unit that doesn't make 300-pound blocks, but like, because they need to think about that too. You know, 300-pound block of ice, you need like an engine hoist basically to lift these blocks on top of that. And then you have to cut them on a food-safe bandsaw or something. I think they just made a smaller machine that makes 60-pound blocks, so something that's a little bit, it's still very much an industrial machine, but it's for smaller places. Yes, King of Random. There you go, Brian. Thank you. Yeah, it's the only, none of that stuff really actually works. I love when I get that comment. They're like, oh, you should just try to clear that. Just boil it, dude. And I'm like, yeah, have you done that? Have you actually tried that? Can you show me a picture of your clear ice? I feel like such a jerk. I hate that. Sometimes I want to get saucy. I want to get saucy in my comments once in a while. What other games would I live stream? Yeah, I don't know. That's a cool question. I never finished. I still have that save. I haven't finished that playthrough of Fallout 1, so I guess I can go back to that. I thought I had a friend who's like, man, this is a bad look for me. I'm looking. Let me a second. So I had a friend who's like big on live stream, or a consumer of live stream, and he had convinced me that like, oh, this is gonna, you should definitely dive into this. People are gonna jump all over it, and you know, you can take your leisure time, your video gaming, and monetize it, and stuff like that. And he's big on Warhammer 40K, painting live streamers and stuff like that. Anyway, so I was exploring live stream for a minute there, live stream Twitch, I should say. Man, I was terrible at StarCraft. And I'm talking about StarCraft, like old StarCraft. I was never good at those games. I liked playing the story modes when I was a kid, but I never was good at the online part of it at all. I'd just be bad. Like, I remember StarCraft was huge when I was in high school. I had a friend who was like heavily ranked, actually. But that's why I play drunk. Yes, that might be the show. Just drunk gaming. So I don't know when I don't actually play a lot of games. I don't have time, honestly. I have a lot of other things I got to do. So I was exploring it as a thing that maybe it would be worth, you know, a different audience. There's something else there. There's a way to cross-pollinate or something. But I don't know. I don't think it's something I can commit to in a way meaningfully right now. If I could, I would do more Fallout. I would do Fallout 2. I would look at probably some newer stuff as well I could get into, but I'm not like a competitive gamer at all. I'm not into first-person shooters. You're not going to, you would be very bored watching me play Fortnite or Minecraft or whatever is popular at the moment. I'm certainly not going to be playing Call of Duty. None of that is for me. You're just trying to enable my drink. I have no trouble there. I don't need any enabling. I'm fully enabled. I'm solid. I got solid. But like probably old school stuff. I'd probably, honestly, if I was gonna like stream games, it'd probably be a lot of stuff on Super Nintendo and Genesis and just stuff that I kind of loved and grew up with. Pair whiskey to Fortnite. Oh, God. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that one. Probably, if I had to be honest, like Fireball. Fireball would be like the Fortnite of whiskeys. Whiskey of Fortnites? Fortnite whiskeys. Yeah. Well, guys, I think I'm going to wrap it up. As I said, my drink is done. To recap, with Game of Thrones, I'm going to launch a whole 6-part episode series of just Game of Thrones drinks that runs alongside the regular show, which will keep coming out on Fridays. At the end of the Game of Thrones series, we will be kind of launching a new show, splitting the show into a pop culture show on Tuesdays and a classics, just regular cocktails show on Fridays. And we're going to give that a try, see how that goes. We'll definitely be committed to that for a while. I hope that does well. I don't see any reason it won't. Pins, how to drink pins coming. I don't want to get your hopes up. For the moment, they're just going to be like how to drink logo pins, but some of them will be Patreon exclusives, and some of them will be for sale to the public. Maybe I'm going to open up a freaking wood shop and start selling bar shelves, which is a weird thing I never thought about, but who knows? It's a possibility. I'm interested. I might just spend like a day making as many of those shelves as I can and then seeing if they sell. That might be the way I test pilot that. And I'll definitely announce that on the Patreon. If I open an Etsy store, I'll let you guys know. And other thoughts? No, that's it. That's the whole thing, I think, guys. If any of you want to, Ron Swanson Drinks. Boy, if I could get Nick Offerman as a guest, that would be something special. Probably can't do that, though. Ron Swanson just drinks Lagavulin. Neat. T-shirts. You'd rather have a T-shirt than a pin? I'm more of a pin guy than a T-shirt guy, honestly. But, okay, T-shirts. I'll look into T-shirts. T-shirts is doable, pretty simple, too. Then there's a question of quality. Do I care? Do you guys, how much do we care about quality? Is Teespring up to the task? Print on demand stuff, or should we be looking at like, you know, fancy, nicely done, handmade, screen printed shirts. What does the How to Drink audience care about? I might actually be polling you guys on some of that. Why can't I have both? Well, you can. You can have both, but for right now, we're sticking to pins. Shirts will be forthcoming at some point. Yeah, from my merch store. You know, it's cool. YouTube rolled out this thing where you can integrate a Teespring merch store directly into your YouTube channel, which is super, super awesome from a click-through perspective. But I don't know if, first off, I can't sell my pins on there. Sucks. And secondly, I don't know, is Teespring a shirt that I want to sell? That's a good question. I have to look into that. Definitely something I have to look into. Okay, guys, that's all for now. I will see you guys on Friday with a Cuba Libre with a homemade cola syrup and a Cuban rum blend. And we'll see you guys Friday with that. And stay tuned because I got some other surprises coming as well that I'm not talking about here. And I really appreciate you guys making the show possible and worthwhile. So thank you guys all so very, very much for patronizing the show. And I'll be back soon as I toast you with the dregs of a nearly empty glass. Cheers.